The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Or so a scholar in the mountains had told him. Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Reynardo. On the other hand, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Lupino was no game changer, but could Reynardo really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Lupino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lupino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. The Ravens had figured out that Lupino was a rebel spy. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Lupino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens? A crafting bench. Reynardo wondered what he could make with it. People were frightened these days. Just 2 weeks past, Reynardo had sneaked through an empty town and listened to the Ravens call about the Emperor's new taste in ritual sacrifice. The village looked so peaceful. Were the villagers hiding somewhere? Of course not. No matter how much he searched, he would only find ravens here. Ready to become faster, stronger, bolder. If only he could figure out which.
This chest was filled with reprints of the entire Sandman series. Reprints? God, what was the point of collecting those? Ooh, and there was something else. See? With enough leverage, you could go anywhere. Reynardo felt restless. Maybe he could focus all that energy into something useful. Every day he was getting better and better. Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Where had the mad rabbit got to? Dirty and bloody, Reynardo finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Reynardo recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am! The ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, see, this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for weasels. Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia. We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows, and that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him.
On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power. Zenobia wasn't just the Emperor's daughter, of course. She'd been Reynardo's best friend in Sword Fu School. And you're still mad for her, the rabbit reminded him.
The rabbit had a point, and Reynardo had a feeling she'd want to see him again. Who knows what could happen between the two of them this time around?
She knows all his plans, chuckled the master spy. She won't give them up easily. She'll tell the interrogators, all right, said Lapino. Taking her would change the game, all right.
The city was already under Zenobia's control. I had to admire her efficiency. Reynardo shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty.
Sometimes, Reynardo really hated inanimate objects.
Reynardo had a lot of crafting materials. Now all he needed was a crafting bench. Firewalls only let you through if they think you're hot enough. This chest made music when you opened it. Too bad it was Muzak. What exactly was Lupino up to this time? You could see the wheels spinning inside his head. They made Reynardo dizzy, in fact. Who are you looking at? Oh, right. No one. So, what's this plan of yours? Use me as bait, said Lupino. And he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lupino dressing as an old blind toad, and Reynardo hiding inside a monstrous watermelon. What could possibly go wrong? Thought Reynardo. Oh, this is gonna be fun, said Lupino, as he ran to go set up his marvelous plan. He wasn't that good. Yet. Reynardo felt dubious about the whole plan. With every step, he was waiting for it all to go horribly wrong. But against all odds, Lupino's idiotic plan worked. Zenobia's ravens ran off after the geese, the net dropped, and Reynardo jumped out of the watermelon and put his sword to Zenobia's throat. Reynardo, she said, are those new scars? They look good on you. You never returned my velvet jacket. It was my favorite. You look stupid in velvet. Ah, what does an imperial princess know about style? Ah, get a room, you two, said Lupino, probably sensing the chemistry. But the fleet was coming on fast, so they took Zenobia east, over the Nexus. She'd vanished from Swordfish School, from his life, without even saying goodbye, without ever telling him she was the Emperor's adopted daughter. Reynardo was aware of her feelings. Maybe this was a bad idea. But was he letting his own feelings get the better of him? Listen, said Reynardo. Let's not do this. Let's not do what? Asked Zenobia. Look. You're the Emperor's right hand. You are going to have me interrogated, he said. Sure, yeah, but then I remembered how you feel about me. How I feel about you. You are going to have me interrogated. But I didn't, because you care about me, said Reynardo. Well, guess again, Buster, she said, and she pushed him off his own boat. As he plummeted towards the bottomless clouds of the abyss, Reynardo decided that he really handle the situation with his usual finesse. He had tried something bold and paid the price for it. Reynardo felt dubious about the whole plan. With every step, he was waiting for it all to go horribly wrong. But against all odds, Lupino's idiotic plan worked. Zenobia's ravens ran off after the geese, the net dropped, and Reynardo jumped out of the watermelon and put his sword to Zenobia's throat. Reynardo, she said, are those new scars? They look good on you. You never returned my velvet jacket. It was my favorite.
You look stupid in velvet. Ah, what does an imperial princess know about style?
Ah, get a room, you two, said Lupino, probably sensing the chemistry.
But the fleet was coming on fast, so they took Zenobia east, over the Nexus. She'd vanished from Swordfu School, from his life, without even saying goodbye. Without ever telling him she was the Emperor's adopted daughter.
Reynardo was aware of her feelings. Maybe this was a bad idea, but was he letting his own feelings get the better of him?
Ah, Lupino was right, Reynardo thought reluctantly. She knows things. She recognized his look. You're taking me to the interrogators, aren't you? She said, wide-eyed. And then she jumped, with horror. Reynardo saw Zenobia plummeting. Then he saw the Nexus below them. Cats always land on their feet.
Ah, she'll head for the Imperial outpost, yelled Lupino. You have to catch her.
Cats can run faster, but foxes can run longer. If he ran, he could head her off before she reached her minions at the outpost. Well, he did love a good chase.
Reynardo had always wanted a flying carpet. This was more like a flying tabletop, but it would do. If only he had some way to break the ice, or convince it he was a friend. Hoped his hook didn't break. He was closing on her. He could smell her fear. He tried not to think about the interrogators at the secret base. What did they do to her? Maybe it didn't have to end that way. Maybe he could talk to her. But, after all, there were worse things the Imperials had done to friends of his. Hey, a workbench! He could try out his new bling. Reynardo reached the outpost. The Imperials there were no match for him. Soon after, Zenobia limped up the path. When she realized he was already in front of her, she didn't even try to run. Oh, you left without saying goodbye. Again, he said, "Please, I'm enjoying this a little too much," she said, shaken. "Oh, spare us the chit-chat, would you?" said Lapino as he shackled her hands so she couldn't throw spells. She knows all his plans. All the way back to the Farfarer, Lapino nagged Reynardo about how the interrogators would pry all the intel out of Zenobia. How that would turn the tides in the imminent battle. All they had to do was take her to the rebel secret base. Reynardo didn't like to think about what the interrogators would do to her. Couldn't he just talk to her? As they pulled away from the Nexus, Reynardo could see the fear in Zenobia's eyes. "I can't take her to those creatures at the base," he whispered to Lapino. "Ah, you've gone soft. Soft in the head. We captured her for what she knows. I'll take her to the mountains. Tell all the horrible things the Emperor's done. Yeah, believe me, she'll turn." And he turned the wheel. "The hell you will!" shouted Lapino, and he grabbed the wheel back from him. The two of them wrestled for control of the ship. It shot off like a mad sparrow. Suddenly, Reynardo was falling. When he came to, Zenobia was standing over him. "Why didn't you take me to the base to be interrogated?" she demanded. "Do you know what's left of people they interrogate? This is some trick, isn't it? To make me fall for you again. Well, I won't." "Oh, go on then. Scurry back to your ravens. I can't stop you." But strangely, she didn't. As Reynardo set off to find the Farfarer, she followed him, keeping just out of sight of the ravens. What else could you hook? As Reynardo stopped to sniff the wind, Zenobia came up, still mad.
Did you really think you'd just talk me into betraying my father?
Oh yeah, sure, that was exactly my plan.
Then why aren't you even talking to me?
Because I've never talked you into anything in my life.
They're gonna court-martial you for letting me go.
He caught a whiff of the Farfarer. Wet rope, tar, and a cask of Scobel ale he'd spilt last year. It was that way. A very clever engineer named Elon Muskrat had got his start making floating platforms. Not many people knew that. Somebody had been watching. He was practically sure he'd find something useful in one of these things. Getting warmed up, he thought. Sharp? Check. Pointy? Check. Flexible? Check. What else do you need in a sword? Reynardo wondered if he should have taken Zenobia to the rebel base for real. Maybe she wasn't playing him after all. After the bleak talk about the Emperor's dark secrets, he was regretting his suspicions. Sure enough, the Farfarer had crashed in some rocks. There was no sign of Lupino. Zenobia caught up.
All that kid stuff in Swordfu School. Look, look, that's the past. We're adults now. We have duties to other people. And we have destinies. What are you talking about? And you are the most arrogant, slow-witted, light-fingered, mercenary, immoral, reckless...
Run away with me, said Reynardo, and he realized he meant it.
What? Just like that?
She demanded. I will, if you will. So she kissed him. And it was the best kiss he'd ever had. They held hands as they boarded the Farfarer. Reynardo felt light-hearted, like the winds that were playing the rigging like a balalaika. But Lupino, I need to get back to Lupino, he said, suddenly realizing he could have been captured. A prisoner. He's not. How'd you know? He saw something in her eyes he didn't understand. He fell, didn't he? Into the abyss. She looked away, wouldn't answer. But then a bolt smashed through the Farfarer's keel. The broken ship plummeted out of the clouds. Reynardo picked himself off the deck. They were alive. We have to get to my private ship, she said. Do you trust me? I guess I must, he said. You go on ahead. Clear the path, she said. I can't kill my own soldiers. He wanted to say that he didn't trust her, that he had no idea what he was getting into. But he had no choice, did he? He was following his heart. That's what it means to be a hero. You had to follow your heart. That could come in handy in a pinch. When you needed one. What was really fun was hooking yourself onto a moving ship. couldn't hear his enemy's answer. Ready to blossom within him, or something. They paused to catch their breath. It was strange to be so close to her. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm trying very hard not to think." "Me too," he said. Up ahead, he could see the thin silver of Zenobia's personal ship. It looked fast. They would leave all this behind. Don't be shy. Claw on him. There were stickers all over the platform for really hot lady foxes, with pictures and addresses and everything. As they reached her ship, Reynardo suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He was surprised to see a crossbow bolt sticking out of it. "I was going to lead the Empire to a secret base," said Lapino. "But no, you had to screw up my plan because you've still got a thing for her." Reynardo stared at Zenobia. The kiss. Was it real? She said, with a look of indescribable sorrow. She gestured and said an arcane word, and Lapino went flying into the abyss, screaming, "I'm telling your father!" Then she knelt down to cradle his head. and her paws felt very soft and warm. Reynardo stared at the book. He was still alive. Again. And still only flying away from burning Ubar. Had he lived that adventure? Or only dreamt it? Had he really died? It felt so real, not like a dream at all. And he'd lost again. Oh, he hated that. But he had made different choices. And he'd lost in a different way. It was the book, wasn't it? Oracles showed you your destiny. But this was showing him different ways he could die miserably. Thanks a bunch, book, he thought. But these were destinies that he did not have to fulfill. But he'd learned another true thing. Lapino was a traitor. Reynardo had suspected there was something wrong with the mad rabbit. But now he knew there was malice behind his goofiness.